stop texting on your phone and pay attention to your show, Robert.
It is. Good morning. A lot to talk about today.
Doug Dean and all your friends out there, no texting.
Well, I'm telling you right now, we're getting a lot to cover. I am dialed in like I'm deer hunting. Look, we got a bunch to cover today. Do us a favor. Take a picture with your phone of the QR codes. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 8 channels simultaneously broadcasting live, plus all the reels that go up, Brendan puts up throughout the day. And man, there's a lot to put reels up on. We got Ellis Johnson, Pete Cordelli, Dave Bartoo, all checking in with us here this morning. I'm going to tell you, if you didn't pay attention, if you're living in a cave or under a rock, a big one, you missed out. Another week in the SEC, and another coach is gone. Brian Kelly at LSU.
He never fit there. He doesn't know how to dance. That's his whole problem. If he just learned how to dance, maybe he'd have a shot.
Yeah, and somebody put out on social media last night him interviewing for the LSU job, the UCLA job, and he's out there going, "Oh, those waves are toasty, dude." I mean, it ought to be great. See where he ends up. But we are here every day of the week, and this channel's got everything you want, SEC and college football. Let's get started right now. Bring in our panel of esteemed colleagues, coaches, 2 national championship coaches.
Yeah, you got it. You got it, Cordelli.
Notre Dame, Cordelli.
Let me say this to you, man. The only dancing I do these days is chair dancing. Because I can do it in my car. I can do it in the living room.
That's cool. I just invested in the Chippendales, corporate thing. So I'm gonna do a whole
with your Speedo
thing. Yeah, with my
Speedo.
Yeah. I've got like rhinestones glued in on there. It's nice.
Well, look, man, I tell you what, no dancing around what happened in college football.
Might get me a job at LSU. I'll tell you that.
Well, I was at my cousin's daughter's wedding Saturday night. And I had my phone there in the pews. I couldn't help it. Everybody around me was looking. I'm looking like a genius. I told Brendan I had picked Mississippi State straight up 31-17 to beat Texas. And I'm looking like a smart guy. And all of a sudden, it's life in the SEC this year. Here comes Texas roaring back. Arch gets knocked out in overtime. The backup comes in. That's what college football is. I don't ever want anyone to get hurt. I'm going to tell you, Mississippi State's getting close. I think Jeff Lebby is building something. And Brendan was right in the preseason. He really likes State, and I do too. You look around at all these games. Auburn has a kicker who's, I think his large intestine was removed. Alex McPherson kicked 6 for 6 and an extra point, 19 points. Hadn't happened in a long time, since 2016 Auburn LSU, and then 1982 Auburn beat Kentucky 18-3 when guy Aldo Greco kicked 6 straight. But guys, I'll start with Ellis. You saw the football over the weekend. What were your takeaways? First off, Brian Kelly in year 4 already gone, and a $57 million buyout with it.
I think the biggest thing that's happening right now, maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest factors, I've been critical of Marcel Reed for about 4 weeks, saying that as long as he played on the level he was, Texas A&M could not make it through the championship. Well, the last 2 weeks, he's proved that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he's played really, really well 2 weeks in a row, and on top of what he's playing with, that rest of that crew, they're going to be hard to beat this year. And they might be the team. Texas, I can't figure Texas out. I mean, last 2 weeks, you don't know who's showing up. Anytime a team is that inconsistent, I just don't know what else you could come up with other than just mental toughness. It's not, if something's missing. A lot of other things, but I think those two kind of jumped out. You would have thought Texas was going to be right in the middle of it back when everything started. And Texas A&M right now, to me, is the best team in the conference.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with my Bama, Georgia to win it. But I know one thing, and I want to throw this to Dave, because then I want Pete to come back and respond, because Pete and I were talking as he was going into mass last night about that LSU situation. Dave, just another dull weekend in the SEC. I'm at a wedding reception at the club Saturday night. I got people, a lot of people there watch this show. And they said, "I love that dude from Oregon. He's cool." I said he's a numbers guy now. He doesn't fancy X's and O's. I've got the X's and O's geniuses on here. But Dave, welcome aboard from Oregon and the mountains. I just get envious when I think about you, 800-pound elk walking by during the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's not getting any brighter out here at in the mornings. Getting on with you guys. It is pitch black and it's raining sideways. We've had rain all weekend. Speaking of those mountains, thank God I'm not in those, because there is nothing worse than hunting wet. Nothing.
Oh yeah, I agree, Dave. When you
Try coaching wet.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that right, Ellis?
Yeah.
that would be miserable stuff.
Yeah, especially when it's cold. That's really a lot of fun. Dave, any coaching openings that you've heard of?
Oh, okay. So hey, so just a heads up. Already this month. Okay, my phone was ringing before Thursday. There's a lot of dominoes in place, and obviously, when you got big fish like LSU going down, the dominoes are really starting to stack up. If you ever see me leave this show, either the power out's here on my phone or an AD is calling, because it is it's going to be a wild ride. It might save some jobs though.
Yeah,
it might save some jobs. That I always try to look at things differently, but you got to remember, when guys get fired, there's dominoes, and then there's a pecking order, and LSU is the big fish that just fired their head coach. That's a new domino, and that domino's going first. So an AD that might be going, man, I might want to replace my guy, but now all of a sudden you're 7th, 8th, 9th in line, when maybe a couple of years ago you might have been first for a head coach. Great example, since we're talking SEC, a lot of Mississippi State fans blowing up my phone. Okay. With Jeff Lebby, and they're just tired of the losing. I get it, but things have improved a lot offensively and specifically defensively, even though it was, 38 points given up in the 4 quarters yesterday. But, a couple of years ago, you'd had kind of almost first pick. Now, I mean, what are you? I mean, Penn State, LSU, Florida, all of a sudden it's like, how much fruit's left on that tree if you're one of the lower and, if you're farther down that domino train. Just something to think about while you're sitting there this morning having your coffee, folks.
Yeah. Father Pete.
Those Mississippi State fans weren't blowing your phone up after they beat Arizona State.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh my gosh, we got a new sheriff in town, and forget Dan Mullen and everything he did here. Mississippi State's one of the hardest places to do it. And Ellis, you know that as well as anybody. I mean, all the time I spent covering Ole Miss, every time we went to start Vegas, man, it was something new. But thank God for George Bryan and what he's done for that program, because every program, you guys know this, have 4 or 5 money guys, and those are the guys that Jimmy Sexton and these agents go to now. They don't go to ADs. I got a call Thursday night that Florida had offered Lane $13.5 million. They said they'd think about it. His agent, the big deluxe Memphis Fats, Jimmy Sexton. There was a great movie called The Hustler.
Yes.
Yeah, we had Minnesota Fats. Well, we got the Hustler in Memphis Fats, Jimmy Sexton. And if you guys remember, Dave, you may remember this. When the LSU job was open last time, the guy that really wanted it was Mel Tucker from Colorado. Because now he'd been on Nick's staff.
Yeah.
And so the commissioner, and he is the commissioner, Nick Saban, and I like the way that Affleck does the commissioner duck and everything like that. That made Nick some money, being the commissioner. Well, he and Jimmy got together and said, "Oh, we don't want Mel Tucker in the SEC. Let's send him to Michigan State." And they loved having Brian Kelly come to LSU. Man, they welcomed him with open arms. I think they actually, paid for some of the red carpet and the parties there. Sexton and Saban have determined a lot about who's going where. And Dave, I know you talked to a lot of ADs, but all those ADs have Saban on speed dial to see who he recommends.
Mm-hmm.
And they should, they should. But the guys that sign off on this stuff, Scott Woodward, I don't know how he has a job. He hired Jimbo Fisher. They're paying him $77 million in a buyout. Now and Brian Kelly's been a whiner everywhere he's been. He's beaten the teams he's supposed to beat, but he can't win the big one. And then he bitches and moans about the academics at Notre Dame. Guess what? We did it with that. We won a national championship, and we had a chance to win 2 more. Stop with the bullshit, you whiner. And it's always your players' fault. You've run off a bunch of coaches. There's a reason Mike Denbrock left and went back to Notre Dame. It's always somebody else's fault. I get pissed hearing about, I'm going somewhere where I have a chance to win a national championship. You had a better chance at Notre Dame than at LSU because this league eats you up. And the one thing that Nick Saban knew, Brian Kelly wasn't going to out-recruit him. Are you kidding me? Saban wanted a guy, come hell or high water, he was going to beat Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
And the family and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now. So Thursday night, I get this call. Hey, Florida's offered $13.5 million. Saturday, I get a call. Sexton's fired back and said, we'll come for $15 million. I mean, that's going to be the new standard.
God.
$15 million now is the going rate with these agents. So guess what? Kirby's getting left out at 13.8. The guy I really feel bad for is Signetti. He signed his contract too early.
Actually, his stipulates that he's top 3 in the country. So he ain't
exactly.
Got
so that's going to get bumped up. But Sig's got to be sitting back going, shit, I got a chance to win this natty. And I'm letting all these other boys slit each other's throat. And then I hear, Brendan, you know better than I. Urban Meyer's people put out to Penn State. We'll come to State College for $15 million. And I'm going, who's throwing this arbitrary number out there? And what idiot is going to agree to it? And then the bigger idiot is the university president who signs off on it.
God.
Please don't give any more 10-year contracts. Please, please, please. 6 at the most.
Yeah.
And if you have a winning season, let's add another year. If you don't, show me how you're going to produce for $15 million.
Yeah.
Then last night I get a call, or Saturday night I got a call that, Joe Sloan's getting fired. The special teams coach is getting fired. I said, they got the open date before Alabama. Then yesterday I get a call. Hey, they sent all the assistants home. They're firing Kelly. That at midnight on Saturday night, 5 of the money people at LSU got on a conference call and said, enough's enough. This isn't about staff. It's about one guy.
Yeah.
And they put the money together. And I'm telling you, that thing was done by 1 a.m. Central Time in Baton Rouge.
God. Ellis, let me ask you something about what Pete just said. What I have a problem with this year is coaches, and I'm going to talk about Hugh Freeze specifically. You cannot talk about the officiating. We know there's problems, but you got to compartmentalize that because it carries over to your team. It's like if you're a dad and you got 4 or 5 kids in the house and you're not making enough money and you blame them because they keep you up late at night, you got to man up and go make it. I'm frustrated with that, but your take on what Pete said, and then I want Dave to kind of encapsulate all that from the view that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it stops. At some point in time, somebody's got the money, and you get in competition for these coaches. And once you're out there in the river, you better come up with the biggest fish, or you're gonna look like a damn fool for ever going in the water. So I don't know where it stops. I should have been born in 1981 instead of 1951. That's all I'm worried about.
Tom Cruise
and me
has
both,
spoken.
brother. You and me both. I'm going like, oh my God, the most I ever made in coaching was $70,000. It's the head coach at Kent State. And I'm going, 70,000. They're paying damn analysts 150.
I mean,
Hey,
it really is. Dave, your phone, like you said, you've been up since early this morning out on the West Coast, outside of Portland in the mountains. How beautiful it is. The bugling of the elk, ducks migrating in the Pacific Flyway, which is 107 days long compared to the only 60 we get in the Mississippi Flyway. But Dave, I think what Ellis just said is right. If you're going to get out in the river, in this river, you got 10 openings right now, and you know more are coming. How much trepidation is there going to be on the part of ADs right now and presidents and really big boosters to do something unless they're really confident they can get somebody better?
Right. And how many better guys are out there? That goes back to what I said earlier. There's so many dominoes getting lined up. Do you want to put yours out there? It's one thing to be LSU and have your group of 4, 5, 6 boosters, because guess what? You're getting first pick of the litter. You got the money, you just demonstrated you got the money because you had boosters willing to pony up the money to get rid of Brian. You had boosters at Penn State willing to pony up the money to get rid of James. And, but again, you're talking Auburn, let's say, a Mississippi State or a Kentucky or any of these programs that are a tier or 2 or 3 below an LSU and Penn State. How do you know you're going to get anybody, right? So I agree with Ellis on that. That standpoint, 100% is that there might be that LSU one might be a tipping point where there's a lot of guys that don't pull the trigger right now and wait for better fishing next year.
Well, I think also that this may start a trend. If they'd quit trying to go get the neon lights and find the best coordinator.
That's right.
Hire. And you may see that because it kind of goes in waves. And you got to quit paying for the name sooner or later and find some production. Guys like Dave, they know who's been crunching the numbers and who's been doing it. And find a damn good football coach that's not 60 years old and already the coach at a Power 4 school. You don't have to pay him everything.
Well, the name that comes up right now, the guy who's got something going is Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator at Georgia.
Yeah.
For the last 2 weeks, Schumann, they say he's been in the building behind closed doors, and with the open date, he hasn't met with the defensive staff. He's texting them. I'm going like, Kirby's letting that go on, and they said, he's got something going. I think there's a great group of young coaches coming up. Eric Morris at North Texas State, Alex Golish at South Florida, John Summerall at Tulane, Silverfield at Memphis, Schumann. I mean, this is going to open the door for some other really good young guys. But Eric Morris, I mean, he's won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
And to bring Cam Ward from Incarnate Word to Washington State, and now the other night, I mean, that was like a damn video game. They're down 17-0. They come back and win 28-27. I mean, and that quarterback throws for over 600 yards.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a guy that's done it, and to Dave's point, a couple weeks ago when Oklahoma State fired Gundy, man, Eric Morris was one of the top 2 guys they called. Now, the whole thing's changed. And we still got Florida State, Wisconsin, and possibly Auburn out there.
Woo. All right, let me say this. College football, they're still playing the games. We got all this coaching stuff going on. I am intrigued by the Eggman up in Crowley's Ridge, my man, Dean Nelson. He is a big Bison fan, North Dakota State. I had North Dakota State, South Dakota State, 1 versus 2, and the Bison just rolled the Jackrabbits, whatever. I mean, listen, I'd be looking, and I know that's an older coach, whatever, but that's not really old. But there are some good coaches out there. But I'm with Ellis. I've been saying this. In the case of Auburn, you make a change. Do you know what that cost? We're getting like the federal government. We're not thinking this is real money. It's other people's money. And Dave, along that line, you go get an elite coordinator. Dave made a great point the other night. Dave is much like the three of y'all are like the Oracle of Delphi, Oracle in Spartan history, Greek history. But Dave said these great coaches you don't just go find them. Let's go hire Pete Cordelli. He'll win us 6 national championships in 17 years, or Ellis will win us 8 and 10. They just happen. Dave, elaborate and shed some light on what you just said, because that's deep thinking, Jack Handy.
Well, it's almost being more lucky than good, right? It's a little bit like the NFL draft, in that I think there's a lot of sports luck involved with it. You know, look at your national championship coaches that are out there right now. You know, that are active, and not just football. Look at basketball. Look at baseball at the collegiate level. There is almost no active athletic directors that have a national championship coach they hired.
Wow.
None of them, right? The guy who's at Georgia didn't hire Kirby. The guy who was at Alabama the whole time didn't hire Nick, right? The only one that's out there is Strickland with men's basketball last year, right? You know, so these things are in constant motion, and it's a dart throw. It's an absolute dart throw. And when you start talking about trying to win a national title, I think that's the biggest problem. You know, I've been doing this for over 15 years now, and with my modeling, I have never had a pool of national championship contenders to start the year bigger than 6. 6 teams. That's the biggest pool I've ever had. And for my entire career, the national champion has come out of the pool that I put up every year. So all these fans, well, we need to pursue that national title, and this, that, and the other. Man, that is so far out there, and it's disappointing that as a fan that the narrative is shifted to, well, can you win a national title or you're nothing? You know, you know what can you do with
It's the Dan Marino scenario. You go to the Super Bowl as a rookie. Oh, I'll be back, and then he never wins one. And everybody goes, "Does Dan Marino belong in the Hall of Fame?" Yeah, he does. He really does.
Oh my God! You know, he's one of those guys where you're like, in the league now with its rules, it'd be like, man, that would be pretty unstoppable when you go back and look at what he did, look at the film and everything. But you know, the one thing about the shakeup, and I'll get back to what, you know, kind of circle back on what the guys were saying. There's a lot of good young talent out there. From a head coach standpoint, I don't know how much good young talent there is on the coordinator side, though. I know you mentioned Glenn Shimon, but Glenn's never. I don't even know if he's actually the full-time defensive coordinator, and he's never even. Georgia right now is on pace to not have a top 25 defense in back-to-back years.
Hey, Dave, can I tell you this though?
Yeah.
We went to Arkansas, and Frank Broyles used to say all the time, there's more ways to move guys on than just firing them.
Yes.
Kirby's got a plan.
Yeah.
That defense hasn't lived up to his standards, so what do? I move them on.
Not even close. You know something, Pete, you've said a lot of smart stuff that I love to hear. That is thinking right there. Yeah. Fans, you should listen to that a few times and keep that in the old noggin for coaching searches in the future. That's awesome, Pete. I do love that.
And here's the deal.
Yeah.
He told the story about Johnny Majors. Johnny Majors was the secondary coach at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coach Majors calls him and says, Coach Broyles, Iowa State's called. They want me to come interview. I don't think he said, oh, no, Johnny, you need to go. You need to get your name out there. He said, call me when you get back. So Majors and his wife go up to Ames. They come back on Sunday. He calls Coach Broyles. He said, Coach, you know, I went and did it. You're right. They asked me the questions. I got an understanding of what's going to be a head coach. But, Coach, I don't want to go to Ames, Iowa. He said, Johnny, did they offer you the job? He said, yes. He said, what have you told them? He said, well, I told them I'd get back to them after I talked to you. He said, Johnny, you got to take it. He said, Coach, I don't want it. He said, Johnny, you got to take it. He said, why is that? He said, because I already hired somebody to replace you. Good luck. So he goes to Ames. No, he goes to Ames, Iowa. And guess who his defensive staff is? Jackie Sherrill, Larry Lacewell, and Jimmy Johnson.
Wow. Holy
Hello.
cow. Well,
Welcome to college head coaching, baby.
Well, hey, Pete, we had, and Dave, and Ellis, we had Barry Switzer on the show with us Friday morning. And boy, you talk about no holes barred, no filter, the truth broker, like y'all. He goes, my daddy was a bootlegger. I'm from Crossett, Arkansas. And Frank goes, that's down near Bastrop and Monroe. And he goes, that's right. He goes, and he talked about growing up the way he did and recruiting the state of Texas. And he does not lack confidence. And I mean, at 87, I'm going to tell you what, he's as sharp as a tack. He's like my dad was at 97 before he passed away. But I want to still be working out and riding the bike every day and having wine at night and have my mind working. Switzer was fast. The reason why we love the coaches like Pete and Ellis and the longtime coaches, you didn't do it for the money. You did it because you love to impact people's lives. And I've known Ellis a couple of years, but I've known Pete for 32. I've seen Pete work. Pete walks in a room and people are just like, they just want to be around him. And Ellis has got that personality. Dave's got it. I think where we are, that's a great point. Ellis, let me ask you, if you were hired, if I were an AD, let's say at an SEC school, I'd pay you a bunch of money and say, find me the top coordinators. And I'd do the same thing with Pete. But both of y'all know offense and defense, but I'd hire the two of you and say, who can cut it? Because if it's like this, a portfolio manager, you don't sell a stock position unless you got something better to buy, unless you want to sit in cash and go broke safely. So Ellis, who are some elite coordinators that you've seen that could fit in if, let's say, Auburn were to say, let's go spend $2.5 to $3 million on an offensive coordinator? Anybody?
I don't keep up with it enough to give you.
But you could find them, couldn't you, if you studied
5, 6 of those?
Yeah.
I think the things that Dave does gives you a lot of insight. Sometimes you got to be careful because you can always run it up in the fourth quarter if you want to. Yeah. But it does tell you a lot because he's obviously, after being on the show and listening to him and everything, he can go back and he knows who's done it consistently. And the big point of that is you got to have some kind of reason to base your opinion on other than Coach Saban or Kirby calling you and saying, hey, this guy has just done unbelievable in my program. You'll be crazy not to hire him. And what are they really trying to do? And I shouldn't use personal examples because we don't know they're trying to do that. But they're really trying to get some change on their own staff. So, if you just take people's recommendations, you're walking on thin ice. But if you just look at numbers, you're not getting the whole picture either. But I just think something's going to have to change as far as quit going after all these marquee guys. It's starting to be like the NFL. They're all just swapping wives. The guy gets a head job, he gets another one in 5 years. Then he gets another one in 10 years.
Oh, the NFL's the worst.
It's starting to get a little NFL to it. Same thing y'all just mentioned. Can he win a national title?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, who else can?
Hey, look,
it's just like the NFL. Yeah, he's won 9 or 10 every year, and we're on the way, but everything. But he's been here now 8 years. We haven't even gotten to a Super Bowl.
If we don't have a tip pass go through Rocket Ishmael's hands to Tony Smith or out, Rocket's in the slot, Tony's on the outside, they throw the Rocket, goes off his hands, Tony Smith catches it, goes 40, we beat Michigan. If that ball's incomplete on fourth down, we get beat first game of the year in 1988. Luck has a big part to do with winning that national championship.
It does.
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
Dave, looking at the coordinators, and you are in the staffing business. And look, there's a lot of, let me say this real quick.
I was going to say that's my job, Rob.
That is your career. That is exactly. So here we are.
That's my job.
I know. So you study this stuff like a scientist, and you are great. And there are people that are numbers people that cannot sell, to a troop train because they overthink things. Okay. So here we are, November 1st. Bama's off this weekend. Arkansas's got Mississippi State. Auburn's got Kentucky coming in. Florida and Georgia, world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville, home of Leonard Skinner and 38 Special. They're going to play this weekend. That's an awesome rivalry. You know what? LSU's off. South Carolina goes to Ole Miss. It's just Mississippi State's at Arkansas, like I said. Oklahoma is at Tennessee this weekend. You've got some really good matchups. And Vanderbilt, let's look on here. Vanderbilt has Texas on the road. Wow. You've got A&M undefeated. Bama, 1 loss. Georgia, 1 loss. Ole Miss, 1 loss. Dave, can I ask you this? You watch the defense that they have at Oklahoma. Might be the best in the country. Ole Miss goes on the road, and all this talk about Kiffin leaving. I thought canary in the coal mine would be, how do they play? The players will tell you what they think's going on, but I just threw some matchups out at you. The SEC, there's nowhere to hide and a long way to go to the top.
No, there is nowhere to hide, and this is a great time of year, and this is one of the huge benefits of a 16-team conference is that you have a lot of no loss, 1 loss, even 6-2 teams out there, and it's not even Halloween yet, right? I mean, there is some. We're just getting into the back 9. We just picked up a cocktail. We're making the turn, and we're just getting in the back 9. Stuff's about to get real. But
playing some music for you underneath, if that makes it feel a little scarier for you, or
no, it's all good. It's all good.
It's dark there and it's scary because you're in Portland and it's weird over there. So I just want to know if you're safe.
Dude, it's not weird. It's fine. There's nothing going on here. I can walk anywhere.
Sure.
He has his hunting spotlight on. Let me tell you how dark it is, Brendan. He has his hunting spotlight on him right now. Yeah. I mean, he's got his truck parked in front of him, and he has that big light that he goes out and just blinds those deer with.
No, he takes all the fire coaches. He's got Brian Kelly sitting back there cutting up some meat, and he's you've got Billy Napier's like a hog tied in the back. So
James Franklin. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm just in the cabin with Aaron Rodgers. We're just having some shrooms this morning before we start our week.
Tripping balls.
But circling back though on your question, you were going down, Rob, with coaching.
Yeah.
And taking a look at the coaches. This may surprise a lot of people because I've been in college and NFL staffing now for nearly a decade. I always thought what we did was to find that diamond in the rough, right? To go out there and find that guy nobody knows about, which we still do. But our number one job in staffing and our advanced scouting that the NCAA approved to be able to offer to schools, it's actually avoiding losers. That's our number one job, right? That and I never looked at that way before. But think about all the times that you saw a head coach make a bad decision on one staffer, and it can set back your whole year or 2. It can get a head coach fired just making bad staffing choices. And so my big point with Glenn is we were talking about, okay, let's go find some elite coordinators to be a head coach. Glenn Schumann hasn't even had a top 10 defense in his life. There's nothing elite about what he's done. Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. All he has is, I work for Kirby Smart. That's it.
Bingo.
Right? So you want to start talking guys that have been elite, that have done something with nothing. Okay? Everybody's talking about Kurt Cignetti. Why isn't anybody talking about Brian Haynes putting up back-to-back top 5 defenses at freaking Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't anybody talking about Shanahan putting up back-to-back top 10 offenses at Indiana? It's way more than just the name. You got to look through the brand. Now I know Kirby came from the Nick tree, and Kirby was at Alabama. But understand, Kirby Smart, when it comes down to pure scoring efficiency, has 11 of the top 30 defensive outcomes of the last 20 years as a head coach or a defensive coordinator. He is the number 1 defensive coordinator since 2010. There is nobody graded higher. He is elite. Okay. So when people start comparing guys like a Glenn Schumann or a Tosh LaPoy to a Kirby Smart, it's apples to oranges. You're nuts, you know. So I got no problem rapid firing OCs and DCs, whether they're elite or not, or what their ceiling is. But I can tell you one thing: Glenn Schumann ain't one of them.
I agree.
Well, and everybody, the fans get frustrated because they're looking at the money that is being paid to these kids with NIL and the portal, and they're going, these kids, do they even care about us? There's a lot of things at play here, but you just reduced it to the boilerplate special.
How do you get that though? I mean, look, when your coach is making $13.5–15 million a year guaranteed for 6, $80 million, what do you care? You're like, this guy's cashing in.
Exactly.
I'm going to cash in. Like, he's not putting his ankles and body out in there. Like, look, that to me, that's where the complaining about NIL doesn't hold water. Right? It's like you're going to pay these coaches. Everyone's making billions of dollars here. Like, why not? And it's so funny that when we start talking about these bigger contracts and we break the news on this whole Lane Kiffin deal last week with Gatorbait Media and all that stuff, and you start doing a deeper dive into the local, state rules and the laws and all these different kind of things. End of the day, you talk to these coaches, they just want to be the highest paid coach in currently right now. It's like, it's almost like it doesn't really matter at $2 million either way. It's like, am I the highest paid coach in the land or not? Right? It's like a respect thing. So,
well, it's ego for sure.
My point is, it's odd when you start hearing things like Urban Meyer, who was completely out of the conversation in the last 24 hours. Now all of a sudden, well, Urban's part of the conversation because we're talking about bigger money. It's like, well, that's where it gets very interesting, I guess.
Well, here's one interesting thing. Apple and Starlink are in talks right now to put Starlink in Apple cell phones, which is going to be a game changer. But Ellis Johnson, that Clemson program really well. And I want to ask you about, I use this term a lot, the emasculated culture of our society. It affects football. I mean, we are building these $80 to $100 million football only facilities that they do everything but brush the players' teeth for them. That's too nice. I'll remember playing baseball as a kid against these kids in the outside of Memphis, and we'd be swimming and playing tennis all day. We'd play these guys that all they did was play baseball. It's kind of like in the movie 300 when King Leonidas asked the thespians and the occasions, "What do you do for a living?" "I'm a potter. I'm a poet. I'm a musician." "Spartans, what do we do?" "Kill, kill, kill. Hooah." That's what they do. I know I'm drinking some coffee.
What the hell did you just say? Ellis, I don't even know where we were. I'm still lost. Where we started.
He got some of Aaron Rodgers' psychedelics this morning. Dave sent him some Aaron Rodgers psychedelics, man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is about the culture. The culture, Ellis and Pete. You know this, Dave, and Buddy knows it. Ellis, when you walk in a room, if your players stood up and were yes sir, no sir to you, you are like Pete, the alpha male in that room. And I think now we've almost got the coaches are trying to be friends with the players. I got 4 kids of my own. I'm not trying to be friends with them. They don't like me. They love me, but we need more Ellis Johnson back and Pete. I mean, more of that.
I don't think kids have changed that much, frankly. And now I've been out of it for a while. There may be a real problem with all this NIL and the portal. I think the portal's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to pay these coaches all that kind of money, and then you're going to have to pay the players. So I've never had a problem with the players getting money. People don't come to the stadium or turn on their TVs to watch coaches. If they do, they're a little bit weird. I don't know what the hell they're looking at.
There you go.
They came to watch the players perform. So they should be getting something.
Yeah.
But, and I think the out of whack money that the coaches were getting kind of fueled that fire when players kept complaining.
Yeah.
The other thing about the facilities, there's 2 reasons you got to have them. One is logistical. You got to have a big indoor, so if it's bad weather, you still get a great practice. But the other thing is eye candy. It's huge in recruiting. Now, it's getting less important when you start paying the players. If you go to one place and their locker room smells bad, but the kid's going to get $5 million if he comes, You go to the next place and it looks like Taj Mahal, but they're going to give you a $500,000. I mean, just 500, a little bit, hell, he's going to go where the money is. But it makes a little bit of difference. And I think that sometimes that the facilities are undervalued.
Yeah.
But with this pay to play now, I don't know what it means to kids. It doesn't mean as much, that's for sure.
Well, I will say this. I think the young kids today, because I got them that age, and you do too, Ellis, and you do too, Dave, and Pete, your daughter's probably the same age, or a little bit older. I think the kids today are great. I think a lot of the parents are trying, and the coaching and the mentality is you can't coach them tough. But every one of them I ask Gunnar Stockton at media days. He's like, yes, sir. I want to be pushed. I want to be pushed hard to be my best. And by the way, Dave, I got to ask you, looking at these quarterbacks.
Well, you want to be pushed if you win. Look, I played on for both coaches. If you win, man, you got it all. You losing? F you. I'm not doing that. I'm getting paid. I'm out. I'm hurt. My knee hurts. I'm out.
Well, by the way, before Saban, there was Frank Leahy. Ivan Mazel was on the show a week ago Friday. You talk about a guy, and he burned himself out or whatever. Great book. I started reading this. Ivan Mazel, get it on Amazon. And Pete's book about coaching. I love it. I'm going to throw this to Pete or Dave, whoever wants to answer it. You look at the matchups right now, the quarterbacks. Dave, you said this in the preseason. Arch Manning would struggle. And he is, but it's not just him, it's the offensive line, it's the lack of the running game. It's a lot of stuff. Elaborate on that somewhat. And then Pete, I want your thoughts on what we've done to the quarterback position in college.
Well, to me, it's not just an Arch thing. It is college football. It is the lack of continuity, at all the positions. And so you got a guy like Arch that hasn't taken a snap before, but you're also putting him behind an offensive line that doesn't have the continuity of 5 years ago. Look in my backyard, for example, Oregon. Okay, you got Dante Moore, and he got beat up pretty good this week. But Oregon has had some of the better continuity in rosters. But they brought in 4 new offensive linemen this year. And if you look at Oregon's success after Bo Nix, and we've seen how good Bo Nix is after 5 years in the college system. Okay, Oregon's offense kind of keeps taking a step down, and you see it kind of across the board that there's not a lot of continuity in offenses and defenses. This goes back to that elite defensive and offensive coordinator. They're harder to identify because the rosters keep turning over. So, whether it's Arch or any of these guys, I think football is just a level lower because of the lack of continuity at a lot of positions, not just a quarterback coming in and taking snaps for the first time.
Yeah, and Dante's from Grand Rapids, Michigan, or somewhere around Detroit, and that's it. Matt Dean's been talking about him for a while, but he's having a hell of a year. But you're right, Pete. You coach quarterbacks. You talk about doing an elite camp, which I hope you do in Memphis, and Dave comes down here because Dave and his early player identification. Yep. I'm going to try to meet with a head coach this week on something, and I'm going to talk extensively about Dave, what he does when I do that. And I'm telling you, it's critical. You look at what Barton Simmons is doing at Vanderbilt. You saw the athletics article Friday. It's like when the Navy SEALs recruit and they go to high schools, they look at future SEALs, they look at cross-country runners, track and field, swimmers, lacrosse players, and wrestlers. And man, you talk about some tough people who lose a couple of teeth and don't quit. Those are your guys you want. Pete, let's talk about the QBs that you have one-on-one with there in the mid-state, Nashville.
Well, the number one guy is Jared Curtis, and I've seen Jared since he's been in the 9th grade. I mean, he's a Sunday player if he stays healthy. I mean, he's got a great lower body. He's strong. I mean, he holds the ball up in the right position where he can get it going quickly. He's in balance, but he can make all the throws as well.
Yeah.
The advent of the film study of Patrick Mahomes has taken over America because Mahomes, when he was at Texas Tech, they had the worst defense in America. So Patrick always came down to whoever has the ball last. He's been on that stage since college. He either won for Texas Tech but they were scoring a ton of points.
Yeah.
So when you look as a pro scout, you go, Mahomes has what it takes in the NFL because he's done it so many times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Dave talks to us about how many starts an O-line has, how many starts. The experience is invaluable. Why did Sean Payton take Bo Nix? Because he has the most snaps of anybody, and it's coming to fruition. Now, you couple that with a pretty good offensive play caller in Sean Payton, Bo Nix, that works. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, that works. Dave, I do need to ask you a question. If I
Yes,
was
sir.
to get back into coaching, if I changed my name to Joey Freshwater, would that make me a better offensive coordinator? But anyway,
Yeah.
but as long as I stay out of the hotels in Birmingham, I'll be okay. But anyway, as we progress, not digress, and then I'm going to go take hot yoga and get my fat body back into, good looking shape. But you're exactly right about the coordinators making the difference because these quarterbacks today want to be coached on every snap. They want feedback, foot position, balance. Is it going on time? The difference is the kids that are looking for immediate feedback are the guys always looking to get better. There have been a bunch of kids that they don't know the right questions to answer. Part of that is the high school programs they're coming out of. The staffs aren't large enough to really coach these kids. So they put their best athlete at quarterback because they got to go coach the other guys, knowing that quarterback's going to play great.
Yeah.
So why are we seeing quarterbacks develop later? Because now when they get into a college program that's going to actually develop them, have a pod, Rob, a plan of development.
Yeah.
But it starts, and every week we're going to hear it. His footwork's got to get better. His mechanics. Well, it's. I say this all the time. In baseball, from the time you're 12 until you get through the Hall of Fame, 60 feet 6 inches, man, and you're throwing off that rubber. You can paint the corners. You can manage the strike zone. Hash marks make a difference in the development of a quarterback, along with physical development.
Yeah.
KYP, know your personnel.
Yeah. Dave.
But it's a kid that has to ask questions. But as coaches, I'd rather overcoach the quarterback than be after the fact on Sunday and go, Coach, what were you thinking here? I got you for 6 days. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think enough is done to correct guys. And it's like in basketball, you're going to miss, but like Steph Curry, keep shooting. A quarterback at some point is going to be out of whack, out of rhythm, fix them. Get them back in balance. Get them back in rhythm. I don't think enough of that technical coaching goes on.
Yeah. Dave, and then Ellis, I want you to respond after Dave speaks on the defensive side of what you're seeing with the studs on the defense.
Oh, for coordinators?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see here. The best defense in the country right now. I heard you mention it earlier. You were saying is Oklahoma have the best defense in the country?
I thought they did.
Nobody has a defense like Ohio State. Nobody.
Yeah.
There is nothing. Ohio State has the number one scoring efficiency defense. Ohio State has the number one opponent adjusted scoring efficiency defense. Ohio State has the best unit in football. And who's their DC? First year defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. So, it's you kind of start going down the line. And I think what we're seeing is we're having difficulty finding guys that are putting up elite numbers above their talent year after year. Like I said, Brian Haynes at Indiana has done a really, really good job. One of the other, let's go SEC since a lot of SEC listeners here. We're talking Glenn Schumann. You know who I'd take before Glenn Schumann every day and twice on Saturday? Pete Golding. Mm-hmm. Give me Pete Golding. Good Lord, he's done it at 2 programs. Now, I know at Alabama he had tremendous talent, right? But he lived up to the talent. And now at Ole Miss, he doesn't have the talent level, but he's still at or exceeding the talent. So, you kind of go down the list of defensive coordinators. DJ Durkin at Auburn, top 20 defense right now. It's overshadowed because the offense can't get going, but DJ Durkin is graded better than a Glenn Schumann.
Who's the A&M defensive coordinator?
Mike Elko.
Yeah, I know he is, but who didn't he bring somebody? He didn't bring
Oh,
the
he
guy.
did. He brought Jay Bateman. See, Jay Bateman
who used to be an Army.
Jay Bateman was at Army, and Army was running 21 plays a game, so the defensive numbers looked awesome, and everybody thought Jay Bateman was a really good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then he went to North Carolina, and they're like, "Oh, hey, wait a minute," and Jay's pretty average, and Elko Jay's a good linebacker coach, but Elko gave him play calling capabilities the first year. That didn't work out. No shock. He's average to below average defensive coordinator. Mike took it back. Mike's elite. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike has been an elite defensive coordinator for a long time. And so I think that change alone is a big reason why where A&M is where it's at right now. Pete Kwiatkowski.
That's like Clark Lee taking it over at Vanderbilt, even though he's giving someone else the title. That's his defense.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's the same. It's Lane's offense. Right. Yeah. I mean, nobody else is calling the plays. He's paying an offensive coordinator $1 million a year to not call plays. Right. Kurt Flood at Texas is never, ever, 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 ever seeing a play call sheet with Steve Sarkisian in there. Not for 1 minute. Right. Not for one play. Yes. And so, but you got Pete Kwiatkowski at Texas. There's a top 5 defensive coordinator in the country right there. He's carried Texas. Everybody talks Sarkisian in the offense. It's Pete Kwiatkowski in that defense that has carried Texas. It is not anything that the offense has done. So, there are some good ones in there. Probably the most unheralded guy as a defensive coordinator in the SEC is Brad White at Kentucky.
Yes.
Right? I mean, because you got to be good at Kentucky, because with Mark Stoops' offense, man, you give up more than 13, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. So, you got to have it going on as the DC at Kentucky to win a football game.
Yeah. Ellis Johnson, we got a few minutes left as we stay under hour of power, 60 minutes. This is great stuff. It's logical. You look at defenses now, the lockdown defenses, they're hard to find. Pete Aliotti, former defensive coordinator at Oregon in 2010 when they played Auburn, said the days of the lockdown defenses are over. You got to be good enough to keep up with these offenses. If a school were to hire you to come in and be a consultant as a defensive coordinator, what are the first 2 or 3 things you would do to make immediate impact from your position?
Well, firstly, I'd hire Jimmy Sexton and hope I'm going to I'd be the first $5 million advisor ever hired.
There you go.
It might take that to get my ass back in that stuff.
Well, Coach, you look now, go back 20, 30 years ago, some defensive linemen, if they stayed 4 years in college, might have 300 plus tackles. Now, defensive linemen might have 120 in a 3 or 4 year career. 130 is a lot. We still got to have defenses, but when you look around the SEC, how do you compare these defenses 1 through 16 and pick out, again, go back, give me the elite defensive minds, because I'm thinking, like you say, Clark Lee and Mike Elko, and they're also the head coach.
Well, all in what you just said, but what Dave was saying, also in there, where you're coaching, who's your head coach? What does he emphasize? How does he practice? How does he recruit? I mean, I've worked for one guy, and if you had 5 kids in and you're all sitting there eating recruits, and he talks to one of them a little different than the others, because he's going to be one of his. And the next thing you know, you're having to bring this kid back and patch up his feelings because in the recruiting, he wasn't acting like he was really wanted that much. And so over time, you're stacking the wrong just one side of the ball, and the recruiting's hurting you. Other things, I've worked for guys who were offensive backgrounds. I always enjoyed that more because I had a little bit more freedom. when I worked for guys that had defensive backgrounds, they're always sticking their fingers in the soup. And it's nothing wrong with that at the right time.
Yeah.
But no damn assistant coach will tell you nobody wants a head coach sticking his nose in a drill in the middle of practice and correcting him. You've lost.
Who was the worst, Dallas? Who was the worst? Who was the biggest pain in the ass? Tell us.
I never worked for him.
I'll tell you.
I know a lot of people that did.
I'll tell you.
Who is it, Pete? Rat somebody out.
You lose your credibility with the player.
Big time.
When the head man does that. Now, when you come off that field and he pull you over in the damn dummy room or the equipment room and dress you down, fine. Okay. Yeah. You probably know more football than you do, but I just don't like that. I think it's deteriorating.
Yeah.
But again, how you practice and who you're working for. Y'all have already mentioned Kirby's put some coordinators into some good jobs, but he's running that defense. At least he's going to put his last print on it.
Yeah.
And you got Will Muschamp sitting in there too, a hell of a defensive coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a lot of examples like that. It's really hard to say, this guy's really great. He may be in a situation that helps him be great. And another guy, like the guy at Kentucky, like you say, one good thing, he's working for a guy that emphasizes defense, emphasizes fundamentals. I bet they practice that way, but at the same time, they ain't scoring no points. And it gets hard to coach defense when you never get to coach downhill.
Yeah. Well, look, we've run out of time, guys. The Hour of Power, just an awesome show. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, Ellis Johnson, Pete Cordelli, incredible stuff. We'll do it again next week.
Hey, can I ask Dave a question before we go?
Yeah.
Who's in your national championship pool for 2025? What teams do you have?
Oh, in August, it was Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and Miami.
Wow.
Do you still believe one of those are going to win it?
Oh, sure. I do. I do. But you know something, every trend is made to be broken.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but so what I look at is scoring efficiency. We can get back to this at some other time. I know we're short on time.
Yeah.
But scoring efficiency drives national champions right now. So if you said, Dave, which team are you taking from that group? I'm taking a top 3 offense or a top 3 defense. And right now, the only team in that group with a top 3 offense or a top 3 defense is Ohio State. And by the way, Ohio State is 5-2 to win the national title right now. No surprise.
I'm going to
Vegas with that, boys. I'll see you in Vegas.
Hey, we'll all go together. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll do it again next week. Awesome show. Let me say something about our sponsors. LandersFordMemphis.com, popular in Houston, Levy. Don't get anxiety. $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. Ask for the general manager, Brad Bellamy. Love this guy. Genuinely good person. Landers Ford, they've got the Broncos, the Expeditions, all the F-150s, 250s, King Ranch. They've got a service department that'll pick you up, provide round-trip transportation. They'll deliver anywhere. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, you paid too much. Great people to work with. Down the street, Hewlett & Dunn, boot and clothing company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Here are their hours of operation. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Starting Black Friday weekend, they're open on Sundays from like 1 to 5. Charles Hall, J.M. Huffman, Raven, Laura Hall, Charles's wife, Lydia, great people. Filson, they've got Barber, they've got Stetson, Pendleton, Schaefer, Duckhead, all the gear, men, women, children, over 7,000 pairs of boots. You'll love working with these people. Get out there, HewlettandDunn.com. Rumble Boxing Gym, Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. How you fight is how you live. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. Thank you all for watching. For executive producer Brendan Martin, I'm Rob Brown. Stay with this channel. We'll keep pushing for you. Thanks.